couple of weeks after we moved here. I was working on a friend's car. So this guy was shooting from the corner towards some guys halfway down the block, and there's a .45 caliber bullet hole right here. So that would have got me right through the heart from the back. And that made me think of this old Bob Dylan song. You know, you can die down here, be just another accident statistic. So I didn't want to be another accident statistic. I thought I might be able to do something about what's going on, and maybe actually prevent these things from happening. And that's when I really got active, the first couple of weeks I was here.
And what year was that?
That was back in '94.
Okay, so that was the birth of your activism?
That was it, August of '94.
All right.
Area across the street from my house, I noticed shortly after we moved in that guys would come here in the morning, sit out on 4x6 posts that were remnants of a playground structure, and just use them for chairs and sell drugs from here. It was like an all-day thing. So one day I was off from work, and I thought, geez, what can I do to make things a little less comfortable for them? Maybe they'll go away and stop doing this. So I was going to come over and chop them down with my chainsaw. And then I thought, well, you know, technically that's destroying city property, and I don't want to get into a problem with them.
Okay.
So I called the maintenance department, and the guy said sure. He totally understood what the problem was. I talked to one of the managers there, and within 2 hours they had a crew out here, and hey, they came by and took out all the stakes.
Okay. And
that helped in the problem right here, as far as the guys being here camped out all day like it was an office. After the stakes were taken out, the community garden was established, and you know, as you can see, it's a lot going on in here. Folks from all over come by and they plant different plots, and you got flowers, vegetables, all kinds of stuff growing over here. I think there's a banana tree remnant around here too. And yeah, there it is over there. There have been a lot of nice things that have happened since then.
And the neighbors all participate in the community garden?
Yeah, neighbors come out here regularly, and it actually helps to keep the crime in check, because there are people out doing things. So this area since then, since the garden is open, has really had a big reduction in the prevalence of crime, just because of people being here and watching.
It's a big improvement.
Big improvement, because it was really starting to get out of hand. You know, guys had taken over this whole area from one end of the block to the other, and a lot of times people would be afraid to walk down the side of the sidewalk.
And now?
Now it's, what, 95% gone. Occasionally there's something that goes on. You'll see some guy trying to make contact with a customer, and they'll move quickly to get their thing done, but no one ever sits in one spot here and sells drugs like they did for the first few years that I lived here. Well, when I first moved here, this is one of the real dangerous parts of the neighborhood. Guys would hang out here all day long, shooting dice, smoking, drinking, and looking for a new customer to come by. It was just folks would just walk out to the street and make their deals. I really got bothered by all that going on. It was a dangerous situation, and I didn't want it to get any worse, but it wasn't getting any better. Right around here was where problems got really bad. There used to be a building right where the parking lot is now. There was a recreation center, and guys would stand outside, squat outside, sit in chairs, shooting dice, gambling, and selling drugs and using drugs, and there'd be maybe 20 guys out here at a time. So that ended when they put up the new recreation center. Well, here's the new recreation center. Replaces the old drug haven that was out on the street. Now they have a lot of kids come by here playing ball, doing things that kids should be doing. There's been no dealing over here since it's been built, and it's one of the real improvements that we've made. Now, of course, this didn't happen easily. It was one of the things that I really pushed to happen, because we just couldn't tolerate the old center the way it was. A lot of the people in the neighborhood kept complaining about it, kept complaining, and so eventually they came up with a new plan for the new center, and I was on the design committee that helped to get this built. This is the end of my street at 59th and Shattuck. And as you can see, there's a traffic barrier here now that prevents traffic from going up towards Telegraph or coming from Telegraph down this way. The barrier was put up a year before I moved in because my next door neighbor, Milton's son, was killed by a drive-by shooting down at Telegraph. And there had always been dealing going on the street. It was, just a regular thing for about 10 years already. And the reason for that was to really try to cut down on the drive-by shootings, the dealing, the prostitution that was going on from cars. The barrier was part of the landscape and was always going to be here permanently. But what happened was, after about 12 months or so, notices came out to all the neighborhoods, to all the neighbors, that the barrier had to be taken down. Sheila Jordan was the city councilwoman then, and of course I inquired as to why this had to happen. And I was told by her office that there was a law requiring it to be taken down. Well, I didn't want to take their word for it, so I called the city's traffic engineering department. The traffic engineer told me that, yeah, the barrier was only supposed to be up here temporarily, but it could be maintained during 18-month intervals as long as the citizens, the residents lived here, wanted to keep it up. We had to petition them. They got 66% of the people wanting it, and it could stay. Well, I went around with my wife and a few other neighbors, and we got that 66%. And then I ran into another part of the problem, was that the council people really didn't want it to be up. That's when I first started running into big problems with Sheila Jordan first, and then with Jane Bruner. And they insisted that other residents didn't want it. So one of the things that happened was we had a series of meetings, and during these meetings this group of people came in and started saying that, the traffic barrier imprisons black people. And it was such an absurd statement that I just felt like, geez, I'm not ever going to reason with these people. I need to go to court where there are reasonable people who are paid to be reasonable. And sure enough, the judge sided with me and gave me a temporary restraining order that kept the city from removing the traffic barrier. Well, 18 months further down the line, it happened again. This time, there was a lot of resistance to taking it down, but again, Jane Bruner wanted it taken down. She was saying that this one group was telling her that they didn't want it, it was inconveniencing them. And I said, well, look, my neighbors and I live closest to the barrier. We're the most inconvenient. We would have a great shortcut if we could just go right here, but instead we're willing to sacrifice our time to drive the distance around for the purpose of safety. In order, finally the city gave up, and they actually just said, okay, it can be permanent. Well, in the interim, the barrier that was here was deteriorating, and a couple of times I had to come out on my own with concrete that I purchased and build a wooden form to make a barrier until the maintenance crews to come out and repair the thing. So after a couple of times of doing that, we now have these planters here that need a little work because weeds are growing in them too. You can see now that the neighborhood has gotten a lot better. We've got a safe street here. 59th Street is way better than it's ever been. I mean, it probably hasn't been like this since the early 70s. And now you can look around, there's no one sitting around selling drugs, there's nobody doing donuts down our street, there's nobody using drugs on the street to entice little children into that life of depravity, and there's nobody gambling, which has often led to shootings in other neighborhoods. So, since moving here from Berkeley nearly 14 years ago, I've done a lot in this neighborhood. I've tried to help my neighbors, tried to help the greater Oakland community. The things that I've done for this street, I know I can do for Oakland. It's why I'm in this race and why I want you to vote for me.